I never thought a small blanket could change my entire life. That day, I saw my daughter-in-law, Ashley, in the yard, dragging heavy black trash bags toward the dumpster. Amid the pile, a piece of mint green fabric slipped out. I recognized it instantly, the blanket I had knitted for my granddaughter, Isabella. Every stitch of that blanket carried my love and hope. But Ashley didn't hesitate. She stuffed it into the trash bin and slammed the lid shut, as if she wanted to bury it forever. I froze, my heart pounding. Why would she throw away the last keepsake of my son, Matthew? I waited until she went back inside. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid and pulled out the blanket. It was dirty, smelled of expensive perfume mixed with damp trash, yet to me, it was priceless. I held it close, like holding a piece of my son's soul. At home, I spread it out on the bed. My fingers brushed against something strange, hard, square, tucked between the fabric layers. My heart raced. I reached in and felt the outline of a small object sewn tightly inside. Who would hide something like this? And why? I grabbed my scissors, the same pair I'd used to cut the first threads of this very blanket. Each snip felt like a cut through my heart. When the stitches came apart, something black and shiny fell out, a cell phone. The screen was cracked, but still intact. A phone inside my granddaughter's blanket. My blood ran cold. Who hid it here? For what reason? I found an old charger, plugged it in. The tiny light blinked. I waited, trembling. When the screen lit up, there was no password, no lock, only a wallpaper photo of baby Isabella wrapped in that same blanket. I opened the gallery. The first picture almost made me drop the phone. Ashley was smiling, radiant, happy. But the man beside her wasn't Matthew. He was younger, handsome, and kissing her cheek. The date stamp was from when Matthew was still alive. I kept scrolling beaches, hotels, restaurants, cars. In every photo, there they were, Ashley and that man, living their secret life, while my son worked late nights believing he had a happy family. My stomach twisted. I opened the messages, and then I saw the line that froze my blood. I can't take it anymore. There has to be another way. He needs to disappear. He6. That was Matthew. I scrolled further. Cold, horrifying texts about plans, accidents, 3 p.m., no one will suspect anything. Then a final note. It has to look natural. One fall will be enough. The phone slipped from my hands. The blanket, once a symbol of love, had been hiding evidence of murder. My son hadn't died in an accident. He had been killed. And the killer was the woman I once called my daughter-in-law. Before I continue this story, I want you to pause for a moment. If you're listening to this video, please subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay, where I share true family drama stories full of tears, betrayal, and the miracles that happen when people dare to face the truth. Here, every story isn't just told, it's felt. Because sometimes, behind the most ordinary things, lie secrets that can change a life forever. Leave a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever lost someone or uncovered a truth that broke your heart, I want you to know you're not alone. Here, every tear has meaning. And I promise you, though this story begins in darkness, it will end in light. I spent the entire night with that phone in my hand, afraid to turn it off, afraid it would all vanish like a nightmare. But the cold blue glow reminded me this was no dream. Matthew had been murdered, and his killer was Ashley. When dawn came, I called Gloria. My neighbor and only friend left. My voice trembled. Gloria, please come. Something terrible has happened. 15 minutes later, she was at my door, her hair messy, her yellow cardigan half-buttoned. Elena, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I wish it were just a ghost, I whispered, then told her everything. She stared at the photos, the texts, her hands shaking. When she read the line, "He needs to disappear," her eyes filled with tears. Elena, this is evidence. This is murder. But who would believe me? I cried. I'm just an old woman living alone. I can't walk into a police station saying I found a phone in my granddaughter's blanket. Sign. Gloria was silent for a moment. Then her voice grew firm. Then we'll find more proof. Something undeniable. He hesitated. How? We'll go to Ashley's house. If she hid this, there's more. It sounded insane. But I had no choice. That afternoon, I texted Ashley. I miss Isabella. I have a few toys for her. Can I stop by? Minutes passed, then, fine, but only 30 minutes. I'm busy. Cold. But enough. Gloria came with me, pretending to visit. She'd use the bathroom while I distracted Ashley. At 3 p.m., Ashley opened the door, flawless makeup, fake smile. "Hi, Mom, come in." The house was spotless, unnaturally spotless. I asked about Isabella. The child ran out, hugged me tight. I nearly broke down. "Excuse me," Gloria smiled politely. "May I use the restroom?" Ashley nodded. I kept her talking about work, the house, memories of Matthew. Each time I said his name, her lips twitched, her eyes flickered cold. 10 minutes later, Gloria returned, smiling faintly. "Thank you, I feel much better." We left. Once outside, Gloria grabbed my hand. "Elena, we found something." In her bedroom closet, a large envelope. Inside were Matthew's life insurance papers, $500,000. Beneficiary, Ashley. I couldn't breathe. She pulled out a second document. And this, a bank statement, a transfer of $200,000 to a man named Hugh Miller. I froze. A new link appeared. Ashley hadn't just cheated, she had bought my son's death. Then Gloria handed me one more paper, a birth certificate. This one, you might not be ready for. It read, "Birth certificate Isabella Torres. Mother, Lydia Torres. Father, blank." The date didn't match Ashley's so-called pregnancy. I remembered how Ashley had faked morning sickness, worn loose clothes, claimed to be expecting. But now, everything unraveled. She was never pregnant. She had stolen someone else's baby, Lydia's baby. "Do you remember that missing girl?" Gloria whispered. "The one who vanished with her newborn 4 years ago?" "Yes," I gasped. "You think that's Lydia?" "I just looked it up. Lydia Torres, 23, missing without a trace after giving birth." My knees buckled. Ashley, a nurse at that hospital, had access to everything, records, medication, and the baby. "Gloria," I whispered, "if that's true, then Ashley didn't just kill Matthew," she said softly. "She stole Lydia's child, maybe even killed Lydia too." I sat frozen, the horror crawling under my skin. Isabella, the child I loved, might not be my granddaughter, but she was innocent, and I couldn't let her live with a murderer. "We're going to the police," I said. "No more hiding. Ashley won't live in peace another day." The next morning, Gloria and I drove to the police station under a heavy gray sky. I held an envelope filled with everything, the phone, the photos, the insurance papers, the birth certificate, and my shattered heart. Detective Jack Roberts, a calm man with tired eyes, listened as I told him everything, from the discarded blanket to the final message. Gloria squeezed my hand every time my voice trembled. When I reached the part about the text, "He needs to disappear," his expression hardened. He examined the evidence carefully. Then, at the birth certificate, he murmured, "Lydia Torres. I remember that name. Missing case, 4 years ago. Never found a body. And you say the child is living with Ashley Wilson?" "Yes," I said weakly. "Her name is Isabella. I thought she was my granddaughter." He nodded slowly. "We'll reopen both cases, Lydia's disappearance and Matthew's death. If your evidence checks out, this could be 2 connected murders." Tears welled in my eyes. "Do you believe me?" "I believe in evidence," he said firmly. "And what you've brought today is enough to start." For the first time in years, I felt someone stand beside me. "We'll request to exhume your son's body," he continued. "We need a second autopsy." The words pierced me like a blade, the thought of my son's grave being opened again. But I nodded through my tears. "If that's what it takes to get him justice, I agree." He rose, shook my hand. "You're not alone anymore, Mrs. Elena. We'll find the truth." And I believed him. For the first time in 3 years, I believed justice was finally coming. 3 days later, Detective Roberts called me. His voice was brief. "Mrs. Elena, the exhumation order has been approved. Tomorrow morning we'll proceed at the city cemetery." I gripped the phone, my whole body icy. I never imagined there would be a day I'd have to dig up my son's grave just to prove he hadn't died by accident. The next morning the sky was dull gray. Gloria and I stood a few meters from the grave. The wind was so strong it whipped my coat. When the coffin lid was opened, I had to hold on to Gloria to stay upright. They took samples, took photos. Everything happened in silence. Only the sound of shovels hitting earth, plastic bags rustling, and my heart pounding in my chest. 2 days later, the results arrived. Roberts called me to the station. On his desk lay a newly opened file, the ink still fresh. He looked at me, eyes grave. "Mrs. Elena, the forensic report shows Matthew did not die from a free fall. There are deep bruises on his wrists, indicating he was restrained or held down before the fall. In addition, the head injury angle doesn't match the staircase structure, which means he was pushed." I went still. It felt like my heart fell out of my chest. I knew it, and still couldn't accept it. "So that means," I asked, trembling. "Yes," he nodded. "Your son was murdered." I bowed my head as tears poured down. Memories of Matthew's smile, dinners together, birthday wishes, all of it rushed in like waves. All I could whisper was, "My son, at last I can hear your truth." The detective placed a hand on my shoulder, speaking softly, "You must stay strong. We now have grounds to request surveillance on Ashley, but we need more evidence, financial transactions, witnesses." Gloria asked, "What about Hugh Miller?" "We're summoning him for questioning," he said. "According to the bank data you provided, the $200,000 transfer from Ashley to him occurred just 3 months after Matthew's death. If he cooperates, we'll have everything." I clenched my handbag and breathed. If she really killed my son, I want to see her in handcuffs. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "You will, Elena. I promise." I left the station and stepped onto the street. The October wind stung my face, but I didn't feel cold. Inside, a fire had erupted, the fire of truth, of justice, and of a mother no longer afraid of the dark. In the days after the report was released, I couldn't sleep. Each night I sat by the window, staring at the front yard, waiting for something news, or simply justice. Roberts had arranged discreet surveillance on Ashley, cameras placed around her house. I knew one small slip could ruin everything. That morning I got a call. Roberts's voice was low. We questioned Hugh Miller. At first he denied it, said he only knew Ashley through work, but when we showed him the transfer, he started to shake. He called it an investment. When I asked in what, he couldn't answer. I gripped the phone, my heart pounding. "Do you think he's involved?" Roberts gave a dry chuckle. "I think he knows more than he's saying. We're pressing him." That afternoon brought more news. Hugh was held another 24 hours for further questioning. Gloria came over. We sat together over cups of cold tea. "She won't stay calm for long," Gloria said. "People like Ashley, when they feel the walls closing in, they run." I nodded, staring into the distance. If she runs, what will happen to Isabella? That's what kept me awake. A 3-year-old child, innocent, pure, living with someone who could kill her husband without blinking. I couldn't wait any longer. That night I wrote a long letter to Roberts, listing every detail I remembered from the day of the accident. The stairwell layout, blood on Ashley's sleeve, even the gray dress with a red smear she wore. I remembered because at the hospital that day she hugged me, and the smell of blood clung to me for years. 2 days later, Roberts called back. "Elena, you were right. We found Hugh's fingerprints on the stair railing, along with a woman's shoe slide marks matching Ashley's size. Both were in the house that day." I went numb. So they were together. "Yes," Roberts cut in. "We have enough to request arrest warrants, but we need you calm. Don't let her suspect your involvement." I nodded, tears streaming. I knew the moment was close, the moment Ashley's mask would fall. That night I watched headlights sweep the road outside my window. I knew, somewhere out there, officers were watching her house, waiting to move. I clutched Matthew's old photograph and whispered, "Give me strength, son. I'm about to bring the truth into the light." 3 days later, at dawn, my phone rang. Roberts's urgent voice, "Mrs. Elena, Ashley just booked flights to Canada. She's trying to leave with Isabella. We're headed to the airport. Stay calm." I dropped my glass, my heart stopping. "Dear God, the child," I cried. Gloria heard and ran over. We threw on coats and rushed to the car. At the airport, lights blazed through the night. Loudspeakers echoed, crowds hurried past. I spotted Roberts with several officers near international check-in. He signaled for me to stay back. From a distance, I saw Ashley pulling a suitcase. Holding Isabella's hand, the child was still in pajamas, bleary-eyed. My heart tore. Isabella was innocent. She didn't know the hand holding hers had taken her father's life. Roberts gave a sign. 2 officers approached. "Ashley Wilson," they called. She startled and turned. For a heartbeat, her face changed shock to panic. She stepped back, clutching Isabella, voice shaking. "You have no right to arrest me. I'm just going on vacation with my daughter." "Wait." But the officers produced the warrant. In her suitcase, they found $500,000 cash and fake passports for both. It ended quickly. Ashley was cuffed, and Isabella was lifted by a policewoman. The child sobbed, "Mommy." I ran forward, almost collapsing. "Isabella." "It's Grandma, I'm here," I choked out. She recognized me, wriggled from the officer's arms, and threw herself at me. I held her tight, the scent of her hair sending tears streaming down my face. "It's over now, sweetheart. No one will hurt you again." As they led Ashley past, she glared at me, eyes blazing like a cornered animal. You destroyed my life," she screamed. I looked straight at her, my voice steady and aching. "No, Ashley, you destroyed it yourself through greed and lies." "Aja." The handcuffs clinked as they took her away, the sound echoing through the terminal like an ending. I closed my eyes and heard it as a verdict. The truth was finally in the open. Roberts came over and set a hand on my shoulder. "She's safe now, Mrs. Elena. We'll need you at the station to process temporary custody." I nodded, tears mixing with a smile. At last I had saved my grandchild, the last piece of Matthew I had left. That night I held Isabella as she slept. Sometimes she whimpered, "Grandma, don't let Mommy go." I stroked her hair. "Don't worry, love. I won't let anyone scare you again. You're safe now." The next morning I went to the station to complete Isabella's paperwork. As I walked down the long hallway smelling of paper and cold coffee, I saw Ashley in the interrogation room behind a one-way mirror. She looked different, hair disheveled, face pale, the flawless makeup gone. Her eyes stared at the table, all arrogance erased. Robert stood beside me. "Do you want to listen?" "We're recording." I nodded, gripping my purse like an anchor. Inside, the investigator's voice was even. "Ashley, we have everything. Phone, messages, transactions, and the forensic results. Do you want to make a statement?" Ashley was silent. Then she laughed a dry, brittle sound. "You think I regret it?" Matthew was weak. All he did was work and sacrifice. I was bored of that life. I wanted more money, freedom, a life that mattered. I trembled head to toe. Her calm voice sounded like she was talking about buying a dress, not killing her husband. The investigator pressed on. "What about Lydia Torres? How did you meet her?" Ashley lifted her head. "At the hospital. She was a foolish girl, no family, no future. I gave her a place to stay, then took the baby. She didn't understand how I did it until it was too late." I reeled. Her words cut like a blade. Roberts glanced at me with compassion, but I felt nothing except the dry crackle of Ashley's laugh in my ears. "And Hugh Miller?" the investigator asked. She smirked. "Another fool. I promised him a share of the insurance money, and he did whatever I wanted. Then I paid him to keep quiet. But he was weak, so I had to clean up. Everything was in the plan." Her voice was arrogant and cold. Roberts turned away and signaled to cut the audio. "You've heard enough," he murmured. "She isn't human anymore, Elena." I wiped my tears. "No. She never was. She only knew how to take love, lives, even a child she never gave birth to." Roberts nodded. Firm. "Her statement, along with the evidence, is enough to indict her on 6 counts of murder. Trial in 2 months." I looked through the glass one last time. Ashley sat there, stone cold, unrepentant, unafraid. For people like her, prison isn't punishment. It's the only place that can keep them from the world. I left the station into fresh daylight. A soft breeze passed, and a strange lightness followed. From today on, the darkness had begun to recede. When the trial day came, I entered the courtroom with a heavy heart. 3 years after my son's death, I finally saw the truth standing in the light. Up front, Ashley sat in a gray prison uniform, hands cuffed. She was still terrifyingly calm, eyes like ice. In another corner, Hugh Miller, gaunt and pale, kept his head down. The judge read the indictment. Defendant Ashley Wilson is charged with 6 counts of murder, including Matthew Stone, Lydia Torres, Adrian Wells, and 3 other victims. With each name, my heart sank another beat. The prosecutor began. We have clear evidence of premeditation, insurance fraud, and identity falsification. This is not merely crime for money, but a years-long chain of offenses masked by perfect coldness. I sat still, clutching Matthew's photograph. I didn't want to look at Ashley, but I heard her voice ring out, "I didn't kill anyone. They were all accidents." But the prosecutor played video recovered from a hidden safe drive. Ashley and Hugh arguing, then plotting the staircase fall. The room went silent. Hugh trembled, head bowed. Then he testified. His voice was hoarse. She said, "If I helped push Matthew, there'd be money. I didn't think she'd really kill him, but when I saw the blood, I knew I was wrong." Poor. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. I closed my eyes. 2 quiet tears fell. Hugh was a culprit, but at least he told the truth. The prosecutor continued. After Matthew's death, Ashley claimed the insurance payout, transferred $200,000 to Hugh, and eliminated Lydia Torres to cover up the baby theft. The crimes didn't stop. She is connected to the deaths of 2 elderly patients she once cared for, and a man named Adrian Wells, Isabella's biological father. The air turned suffocating. The judge asked, "Does the defendant have anything to say before sentencing?" Ashley was silent for a moment, then sneered, "I did what I had to do to live better. The weak get crushed by this world anyway." A low roar of outrage rose. I looked at her not with hatred but pity, a soul so empty it no longer knew what love was. The judge read the sentence. The court finds Ashley Wilson guilty of first-degree murder, 6 consecutive life sentences without parole. The room erupted. I bowed my head, tears falling on my son's photo. In that moment, I felt Matthew smiling. Justice could not bring him back, but it restored his dignity and the truth. I stood and looked out the courtroom window. Sunlight poured in gold and warm. For the first time in years I could breathe. After the trial, my small house returned to quiet, but it was no longer loneliness, it was peace. Ashley received life in prison. Hugh died in prison a few years later. The darkness closed, leaving only Isabella and me. In the early days, she often startled awake at night, crying, "Mommy," in her sleep. All I could do was hold her and whisper, "It's all right, I'm here. From now on you will be loved, truly loved." Gradually the cries faded, replaced by giggles each morning as sunshine flooded the room. I gave the rest of my life to raising Isabella the way Matthew had dreamed, to grow up with decency, with love, and with the belief that truth, no matter how painful, is worth holding on to. I taught her to braid her hair, to read poetry, to look people in the eye without fear. When Isabella turned 8, she gave me a small gift wrapped in mint green paper. Inside was a knitted blanket, pale green, made with her tiny hands. "I made it for you," she said, eyes sparkling, "to replace the old blanket, the one you said saved me." I hugged that new blanket tight, tears soaking her shoulder, not from sorrow, but from knowing the suffering had truly ended here. The first blanket, the one I knit for my grandchild, hid a crime but opened a road to justice. The second, the one she knit for me, held only love and healing. Every night before bed, I lay the 2 blankets side by side. One is the past, where truth was buried but finally uncovered. The other is the future, where love is passed on, and fear has no place. Now Isabella is grown and studying medicine like her father. She says she wants to be a pediatrician to help orphans and abandoned children, like I once was. Pride and gratitude swell in me. "You're the miracle of my life," I tell her. She smiles and holds my hand. "No, Grandma. You're the miracle that saved me." That night, I sat by the bed and watched moonlight wash over the 2 blankets. One old, one new. One symbolizing pain, the other love. And I realized, every tragedy can end in kindness if we are brave enough to face the truth. I closed my eyes and whispered my son's name. "Matthew, rest now. She's safe. What you left behind has finally bloomed." If you've made it this far, thank you for walking this road with me. Today's story is not only about crime, it's about truth, love, and courage. Please subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay to hear more family drama stories, real-life tales, where tears become strength and darkness gives way to light. And if you've ever suffered loss or betrayal, leave a comment below. Because here, we tell stories not just to remember but to heal.